All right, guys, quick. We got to get into our 80s move before we review this series. We got to get as 80s as possible. Get the Hairspray, get the Dig Dug, get the Dragon's Lair.
I mean, we're going to go watch Thor Ragnarok?
Or watch Thor Ragnarok. All the 80s up in here. And welcome to Netflix and Kill, 80s Nostalgia Edition. Because we are talking about one of our favorite Netflix series today. And who's talking about it? Well, it's me, Nick, the Merc with a mic. And my fellow unapologist, God of the Pod.
Travis.
And,
yeah, don't ask. That's his thing, not mine.
My very... And our...
Don't... guy giving the stink eye, Kyle.
Yes.
This is not me, that's him. That's his spelling mistake, not mine.
This is Kyle's first time hearing what I like to call Travis's call sign, God of the Pod. So how do you like it? We'll get one for you soon, Kyle.
No thanks. Run away now.
Kyle's like, I'm good. I'm fine. I feel like this can only go downwards.
It really can.
But, of course, it's us three, the original unapologists, riding again, talking about one of our favorite series. We're talking about Stranger Things Season 2, guys.
On Halloween night, Will saw a sort of shadow. Maybe all of this is happening for a reason.
These are not nightmares. Is happening. And it all leads back to here.
This thing.
You said it was all in his head. And what have you done? Nothing. What is wrong with my boy?
I don't understand. 11 what? She always did. It's reaching into Hawkins. If anyone knows how to destroy this thing, it's Will.
Oh my God.
Don't you think it's weird how we only seem to hang out when the world's about to end?
It's not like it was before. It's grown.
It's Judgment Day. Which is why we need as much help as we can get. Is anyone there? Anyone!
You should go now. It's almost here.
You still have that bat?
Bat? What bat?
One with the nails.
We had a watch party of it, which was actually pretty fun over at Kyle's place. Thanks for hosting us, Kyle. Sorry we couldn't stay for the whole thing.
Oh, it's fine. Travis was passing out, so it really was.
I made it a couple more episodes. How far did we get when we were watching it?
We got all the way to episode 7, so we had 3 more episodes or 2 more episodes remaining. Yes. We had 9 episodes.
Yeah, we got quite a ways with it. I actually remember. So, and then me and Travis actually finished it off the other day, and I know, Kyle, did you go back and rewatch it with Tessa, or did you just finish it off yourself?
I finished it off, and then I rewatched some with Tessa.
Oh, okay, cool. So, this is just going to be our, basically thoughts and feelings over how we thought Season 2 went. I'm going to put up the spoiler warning right now, is that I was surprised how surprised I was during this season.
Yeah, the trailers did not spoil anything, and if not, they were like anti-spoilers.
Some of the trailers are even misleading in some of their in some of what they depict. So,
but it doesn't make you want to watch it any less.
Look, if you want to go in cold, what I'm saying is if you want to go in cold and not, because we're going to have to talk about some of this stuff.
Let's face it, if you want to watch the show, you've already watched it. I guess we can, like, just for those people who would be tuning out, I guess I'd say that, probably not as good as the first season. Mm-hmm. But I think it does still justify a third season. It's still pretty good. Pretty good.
I still quite enjoy it immensely. I will agree with Kyle. I prefer this first season, but not by a grand total. And there's only a couple things that I really have a problem with, and we'll get to that eventually.
Yeah, some things that improved this season were acting in general.
Mm-hmm.
The kids got better at acting.
Dude,
they had more practice.
That kid actor for Will, we'll get into it, but he impressed the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm. Especially since we didn't get to see him in, like, the first season at all.
Mm-hmm. Oh, also the budget went up, so...
Budget went up, so then CG went up, which kind of quality went down then?
Yeah, well,
in some scenes.
They do that thing where a lot of TV shows do it, where they had a small budget to begin with, so they were really clever and smart about how they used their CG, but then they got a bigger budget, they decided we can do more CG, and they kind of, like... Most of it still holds up.
Yeah.
But there are 1 or 2 points where the CG is like, oh, that's pretty sketchy. Like, there's a point where they are holding a object that's definitely not there, and you can definitely tell it's not, that they're bouncing around a tennis ball rather than this little creature that they have. Mm-hmm. But we'll get into that. Travis, how about you overall before we go into, like, spoilery stuff?
Same feeling. It was a fun watch that I couldn't possibly not watch, but I still prefer the original.
Okay. So, yeah, that's basically our non-spoilery recommendations for those who want to continue going. Enter at your own peril. We'll keep major spoilers until the very end section, but we are going to have to talk about some plot stuff that, in order to just kind of give our opinions on what's happening this season.
We have to talk about the shit to explain the shit.
Without further ado, let's go into the plot.
Bum, bum, bum.
So, this one picks up, what was it, like 6 months after the last one?
Like almost an entire year.
Was it almost a year?
It was going to be the anniversary of Will being...
That's right.
Which is why the flashbacks were happening more often, was the explanation.
Right. So it's been a while since we've seen the kids. They are gearing up for Halloween, which is pretty fun. I like that aesthetic. I love that they head up, like the first episode they head to this arcade and they go fucking play Dragon's Lair.
Yes.
That's so rad.
God, I miss arcades.
Right? Like, it makes you miss them really bad.
And they actually had to, like, scrounge around through piggy banks and clothing to get the coins for it. Mike steals from his sister. Michael.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
He's the one whose name we hear the least. Oh, wait, no, never mind. There's some parts where we hear his name.
Well, Michael, he was basically our main character for the last season. In this season, he actually takes a bit of a back seat. Will is much more in focus for this season, which is a very interesting choice since he was much...
Yeah, we actually have to develop his character this season. And that's probably for the best, because otherwise they could... If they didn't do it this season, they would just keep pushing him back until the point where he wasn't important.
Well, it's interesting because it gives you a fresh perspective, because it's like, oh, I don't actually know this kid that well, so you get to learn about him and what he went through in the first season, how he's dealing with that.
Plus, Dustin and Lucas also get a lot more scenes in this season as well.
Yeah, Dustin and Lucas get their own kind of subplots going on, which fleshes out their... We actually get to meet their fucking families this
Dustin
time.
Steve bromance. Yes.
Dude, we will get to Steve. Steve, I'm almost in love with Steve. Like,
Steve basically adopts them, like, nope, I'm your father now.
We're gonna get to Steve and his fucking amazing hair, but we will get to that bastard. Hopper's still around. He's checking out some weird shit going on with, like, dying crops and stuff. He keeps checking in with, the...
Winona Ryder's character.
Yeah, with the
Joyce.
With Joyce.
Joyce, yeah.
And because he's like the intermediary between Joyce and
the government, the
facility.
menacing government agency, to quote Night Vale.
Yeah, I mean, it does, like, it never, I don't think it ever really gets a name. It's just like the facility. Hawkins Lab, basically, yeah. And we have a new doctor to take the place of Papa from the first season.
Yeah. That is what she called him.
Yeah, we get, and at first I'm like, man, fuck this guy, because he's played by Paul Reiser. And for anyone who remembers the movie Aliens, where he was the corporate stooge in that, and I don't know, every time I always see that, I'm like, fuck this guy. Like,
I gotta say, he was much more personable than the old Doctor, though. So
yes, and he was a surprising. He has a surprising couple character turns as well in here, where I'm like, oh, you didn't go exactly where I thought you were gonna go. So that was surprising.
Plus, we do get 2 new characters that get involved with the rest of the kids as well.
we get a couple of new characters.
Yeah, we get Mad Max, the new girl to the group. So I like her because she has no like time to deal with the boys and their kind of like bullshit.
Their stalkerisms.
So I mean, I like her character a lot. Her brother, what's the name? This Red Ranger dude.
Yes.
What's
his character name was Billy in the show.
Billy. So Billy. Okay, if there's
wrong Ranger.
So imagine the Red Ranger with the crappiest mullet. Like his mullet is awful. What's that?
Didn't the Red Ranger have a mullet?
No, he had short hair in the Red Ranger. Yeah,
all those kids had short hair.
All those kids. I'm not sure.
No. Original series.
Oh, the original Mighty Morphin.
Probably.
No, Jason. No, Jason David Frank had some interesting hair, but I'm pretty sure the original Red Ranger did not. He had short hair as well.
Okay.
Although you got to figure with as many people as many as 90s hairstyles, there had to been a mullet in the original Power Rangers.
Oh, I'm sure.
Billy, for me, I was like, he might be a little. He might be one of the weaker spots in this season for me.
He doesn't really get much character development. He's there more as an antagonist for Max's character.
He takes the spot as you remember the 2 bullies that were bullying the kids in the first season?
Yeah.
That were just there to be the stereotypical Stephen King bullies that never really had that much more to do. He's basically that.
Yeah, he's the stereotypical bad guy.
Yeah. So there's no surprise with his character, and of course they try and give him the stereotypical Stephen King thing of he came from a bad family, that's why he's like this, to give us sympathy for him. But I don't know what it is, but that hardly ever works for me anymore.
Well, it's the fact that you came from a bad family. That doesn't excuse you for almost murdering people.
I mean, he doesn't really get a character turn of understanding or learning his ways or anything. He's definitely no Steve.
No,
he's no Steve.
He's not even close to Steve.
No, he can't. Steve for life, man. Steve for life.
Well, the thing he's not close to Jonathan either.
But let's talk about my new favorite character.
Okay.
Bob.
I love Bob.
Bob is amazing, okay? So, Sean Astin, great inspired casting, because Samwise motherfucking Gamgee. We got our leader of the Goonies, which is great for an 80s nostalgia show, and Bob has the greatest personality ever.
He is the nicest guy. He's not a nice guy. He is the nicest guy.
He occasionally gives the bad advice.
Yeah.
To be fair, that was not bad advice in
it's bad timing for the advice.
For the knowledge he had, that advice was fine.
Look, he didn't realize that that advice would come back to bite Will in the ass at the exact wrong time. So, but Bob is amazing because he's got this great, personality style where he's just kind of a goober, but he's charming, and he's just got this weird way about him of I'm gonna help you out and be G. Willikers all right, and I
just remember watching this with you. You just kept going oh man, he's gonna turn evil or die.
I think Kyle also suspected that as well when we were watching it together. I think it became more and more apparent as I really don't want to like Bob as much as I'm liking Bob, because I know there's only 2 ways this character can go, and it gets to the point where oh god damn it, I like Bob too much. I'm too invested.
Yep.
In too deep, pull out.
But yeah, he is great. Winona Ryder is also coming back here as pretty awesome character. There's no Christmas lights for her to put up anymore, but she solves that with the whole
the crayon
thing.
Yeah.
I love that her character traits. She's always got crazy shit to put up in her house.
Walls, yeah.
It's always her character.
Most moms just get fridge drawings. She gets like house drawings.
Yep.
So, we get the big spoiler at the end of the first episode is that 11 is still alive and she's hanging with Hopper.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I
liked that whole set reveal thing because everybody was going around like, oh, well, what's this scene about? Who's he talking to? And I was like, there's an Eggo on the table.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good reveal.
Yeah.
It's what I really like about this show is that it treats every episode like it's its own movie.
Pretty much.
And it treats it because that's the slow reveal of 11. And then there's the, slow buildup of Dustin finds a small creature, treats it kind of like E.T. until it's suddenly gremlins. Mm-hmm. And it's like,
quickly too.
I really appreciate it's the production value and the way they film stuff is the exact same from season 1. And I just love the way this show looks. Yep. The cinematography, sometimes especially the Upside Down, when Will's getting flashes of the Upside Down, it's like this spooky, like it wouldn't be out of place in a Silent Hill video game, plateau of like, whoa, that is like some Cthulhu level shit coming for us. And it kind of ups the stakes. This season does feel like the Aliens to season 1's Alien. Mm-hmm. And that comes with some good things, and that does come with some negatives.
I think calling this season Aliens would be almost like the best actual representation of it.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people consider Aliens to be a better movie than Alien.
And probably some people consider this a better season.
Not many.
Okay, whatever.
I also consider Aliens better than Alien, but not by a whole lot.
See, I actually still like Alien better.
The thing with this season is that I like so many aspects of it so much, but there are certain things that don't work for me. And one of the things is that one of the things we haven't mentioned yet, which is Jonathan and Will's sister, whose name I'm Nancy, that's right.
Come on, Nick, they scream every name every episode.
So everyone else gets their own kind of intricate storyline, and I'm pretty invested in what's going on. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be completely honest right now. Jonathan and Nancy's storyline, I kind of forget them every time they show back up.
Yeah, I'm always like, what were you doing again? Oh, that's right. You were doing that really unimportant thing.
Well, and another thing that I found kind of iffy about this one was the pacing was a little slow. Especially in the first 2 episodes, which is kind of the area that we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
I can understand the first episode where it's like you have to set up what's been happening and what's about to go down.
Yeah. It doesn't, up until you get like episode 4 is where shit starts to roll, and then the snowball is rolling down the hill and we're getting the momentum.
Yeah.
But yeah, the pacing for the first 2 episodes is a little slower, and there's a pacing issue around episode 7, which I also do not care for. Mm-hmm. But we'll get to that eventually. The Nancy and Jonathan storyline. How'd you guys feel about Nancy and Jonathan's relationship and the development of it this season? I mean, on one level, when I first saw it, I was a little disappointed because I'm like, really? This is what we're doing? Because I thought this was a cool dodge in the first season where they didn't end up together. Because the first season, it was very apparent, like, Jonathan's a little weird and creepy, and it makes a lot more sense that Nancy doesn't end up with him and ends up with Steve by the end of the first season.
Who actually does improve as a character.
Well, Steve proves himself as a good dude.
Yeah.
And is like, oh, there's a reason that those two hooked up in the first place. So it makes some sense. In this one, Nancy basically treats Steve like he was a rebound guy after Jonathan didn't go with her. And I was like, that's a little sad and kind of mean on Nancy's part that she just is just with Steve because
Jonathan never made a move.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, that's... And she said...
it kind of redacts that whole thing that we were talking about last season.
So, that annoys me because it takes away one of the things I really liked about the first season, which is a thing I don't... like. I always understand that's a risk when you expand mythology, is that you explain stuff that didn't need to be explained before. So, I mean... I'm a little annoyed by it, but I don't think it hurts the series overall.
Steve still gets some great moments.
It's still bullshit. It's bullshit.
All of it is bullshit.
Everything's bullshit.
Well, I was nervous because I'm like,
Podcast is bullshit.
I was nervous because I'm thinking, oh shit, Steve's gonna get written out of this fucking season. He's not gonna have anything to do because his only relationship with the story in the first season was Nancy. Mm-hmm. But now they team him up with the kids, and that shit's awesome.
No, he basically like, okay, I'm adopting Dustin now. Like, why? I got dumped. Okay, so you're going through a midlife crisis here, Steve? What's going on?
Well, it's a chance for him to relive the moment where he was like, where it was his best moment in the first season and probably in his life where he got to save Nancy and be the hero for a minute. And he, and when Dustin comes up like, hey, you still have that bat with the fucking nails in it? He kind of jumps at the opportunity to be the hero again.
He's like, yeah, I obviously have that.
That's my baby. I keep that forever.
And I gotta tell you, when Steve, what I really like about this season is that we've done the work of establishing a lot of the characters already, so we get to expand some of the characters we didn't get to know as much about, like Lucas and Dustin. We get to introduce new characters like Mad Max and Bob, and we get to really like them to the point where later in like episodes 5 and 6 and to this very series end, we are nervous about these people because for the most part, I always think like, okay, the kids are mostly safe. I mean, there was a point at the end where I'm like, ooh, I wonder if they might kill one of them.
Yeah, it kind of felt like that. I was like, no.
I mean, normally kids in these TV series, they're pretty invincible. But I don't know, people like Steve and the older high school kids, Barb got nailed, the adult characters, you're kind of like, no, you guys could bite it. Yep. And when Steve enters that remember that junkyard scene where Steve enters it to fight one of the new creatures of this season, which are called the Demodogs.
Demodogs, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. When he faces off with one of them in the junkyard, and then suddenly, as soon as we see 1 second one, me and Travis both start to yell at the screen, Steve, get out of there! Like, we both treat it like Steve can hear us. And
Damn right
away.
he can.
Steve, save yourself and your beautiful hair.
Not the hair.
Because I really enjoy Steve and I don't want him to die. And that marks for me a great horror movie series or anything, is that I give a shit whether or not the character makes it out of this. I'm actively rooting for each character to get out of the scenario because I want to see them live.
Well, that's an important part of stakes, where it's like, even if you know it most likely that they're going to get out of it, there's that chance that makes up for it.
Oh man, and there's some stakes in this season where by the end of episode 8 where shit starts to really go down, you're kind of like, oh shit, like we gotta, I hope you guys get a Deus Ex Machina out of here because there's some really bad jujus going down.
Speaking of Deus Ex Machinas, we should talk about almost the opening scene.
Oh yeah, so the opening scene is very interesting to me because we straight up reveal the another project, like another person that's like 11.
Oh yeah.
And she's 8 or whatever. And that was cool to me. I'm like, oh shit, that makes so much sense that there's other
test subjects.
And then we never come back to it until episode 7.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would have done something different with that.
Yeah.
It annoys me because if for the first couple episodes, I'm like, okay, when's that coming in? And then
you forget about it.
But then by episode 7, I've already forgotten, like there's a bunch of other shit going on. And I'm like, oh, that's right, this thing. And it's so disconnected. There's just too much time between that opening, and the opening of the entire series only deals with one episode of the series and doesn't really, I don't know, 11's storyline is so disconnected from the rest of it.
Oh yeah.
It's super disconnected.
To the point where I have a real problem with episode 7, I'm not gonna lie. Because episode 6 leaves us off on a traditional, like all the episodes leave off on a cliffhanger.
Right.
But episode 6 is like, oh shit is going down. We need to regroup. We need to rethink our strategy because things are almost as bad as they are gonna get.
No, these are as worse as we've ever had them.
It's an all hands on deck scenario. And then I'm like, and I don't know about you guys, but when I was watching that, I watched when I saw the cliffhanger, I'm like, oh shit, I cannot wait for this next episode.
No, because we even talking about, like, how much would this suck if we were watching this, like, week to week? Like, having this cliffhanger where you're like, shit, I have to wait until next week to watch what happens next. Fuck that.
It would be all we talked about for a week.
Yeah, but then we started watching the next episode and we were like, we have to wait another fucking hour to find out what happens? Fuck you, Netflix!
And that's my problem, is that whole episode 7 is that if there's like 10 minutes of story stretched around like 50 or 40 minutes, and I'm just like, man, it's not like it's bad per se,
but it feels like a filler episode.
It feels like it's from a completely different show. Like we meet these punk characters kind of out of nowhere, and it like, I mean, I get that we have a storyline with 11 where she's trying to find, family and answers, and that's important for her character, but it's so disconnected that I feel like I took time out of the show that I was watching and really enjoying to watch another show, and then like back to our regularly scheduled programming. So there's a pacing blip in there where I'm just like, I feel annoyed the whole episode because I want them to cut back to the other story so often.
What they should have done is, like you said, add more story elements to it, but they probably should have had that happen earlier and kind of broke it up into each episodes, because 11 doesn't do a whole lot until the episode anyway.
Yeah, and I was actually watching the whole talk show that they have about Stranger Things afterwards, because I'm like, oh, it's on my queue.
See, I didn't catch that. I was interested in that, though. How was it?
They actually didn't want to bring 11 back until the very last episode. And I'm like, that would have been a mistake.
Yeah, that would definitely been a mistake.
You definitely want her there early enough because you want to develop her and not have her, because having her at the end would feel like a Deus Ex Machina, like 11 saves the day again.
Yep.
I don't know what you do. Again, this one's 9 episodes instead of 8, and I think that was a mistake too, because it's obvious like, why don't you just chop off episode 7 and put some other dialogue stuff of her meeting like her
5 more minutes in each other episode.
Right.
Yeah, it's because you're not beholden to the Netflix, because you're Netflix, you don't have to be beholden to the 44-minute format. There's not a reason we had to have 9 episodes rather than 8. It feels weird. I mean, we could have probably tightened up the pacing on the first couple episodes too. I don't know, there's something wrong with the pacing of this season, to the point where it's like slow going, and then suddenly, oh shit, episode 4, we're rolling down the roll. Oh my god, yes.
And then hard stop.
Then episode 7 hard stops for a whole episode, and then we go down again. And I'm like, okay, that felt weird and out of place.
If it was a roller coaster, you'd definitely be like, I hate that part of the roller coaster. It's not I definitely least favorite part.
But let's talk about some more stuff we did like. Because I really liked the conspiracy dude. Like, if there's anything good about Jonathan and Nancy's storyline, is that they meet him. Like,
and
he's fun. Because he has his own theory about what's going on. Like, he thinks 11 is like this Russian agent, or something.
Yeah, and they go like, actually, you're gonna want to sit down.
Yeah,
you're
gonna want to sit down for this. That's some weird shit.
Anyone else remember the part where Barb's parents had to sell their house to get him there?
Ooh, that was dark too. Like, that was when they deal with what I love about that though is that they deal with the after effects of a season, like of a disappearance like that. Like, what do Barb's parents do now when they have no body and nothing to like?
See, she's still declared missing.
Yep, I did like that very much, so that they went back to that. And I don't know if how much of it was justice for Barb.
It felt a little like that.
It felt a little bit like that, but it was nice that they actually went back to that, because I mean that would have been big news, and it would have stayed big news for a long while.
And what I really liked about that is that they treat it like there are consequences to what happened in the first episode. The kids all like swear this death pact of like, we can't tell anybody.
Well, that's what the government agency told them.
Right. Winona Ryder's character has to go constant visits with Will to keep checking up on him because he's having these weird visions, and he's kind of got like this PTSD thing going on too. It's hard to tell what's real, what's not with him. You gain a lot of instant sympathy with Will that way. It works a lot, and his actor is very good. He has the biggest eyes I've like ever seen. He has he must be related to Amanda Seyfried or something, or maybe he's part anime character.
I think he's part anime character.
Is he part anime character?
Well, we know that Mad Max is part anime character. She's in the back right corner of a classroom.
She's the main character of any other show.
She did go to the back right corner.
And she has the different colored hair? Yeah, she's an anime character.
That back right corner might as well be marked for this is the troublemaker's seat.
Like, we've seen both Will's parents, but we didn't see her parents. We saw one of them.
And man, I do love Will too, because there's a scene in here. I won't go into too much detail, but he has to like pretend to have like this kind of seizure thing. It is scary as shit. Mm-hmm. It is way too real looking.
Like, I don't know, do I touch you? Do I shake you? What do I do?
Do you remember that scene where he starts to shake? Mm-hmm. Like that shake, like it's scary, like to a degree that I'm concerned for the actor almost. Yeah. But it was very good. I love the kids and their bond. They argue and they call each other shitheads, but you always feel like they are friends and they have each other's backs.
Well, yeah, because best friends do call each other asshole in names, because this guy's an asshole.
This guy's an asshole. Maybe he shouldn't be such an asshole.
Yeah, the real mystery is who did he point to?
Visual jokes on a podcast. So that's why Travis is an asshole.
I pointed at both of you and you both know it.
I love that they all show up to school in Halloween costumes.
Yes.
And no one else did. It's harsh. It's so harsh.
It's so awkward. Like, oh, go just dry up on a corner.
That was a good way to that the trailers misled us too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like, oh, we're gonna have a whole.
The directors were actually talking about that. It's like, I have to give the people who cut our trailers an applaud because we didn't have anything to do with that. Yeah. But I watched them and I'm like, that's not anything like what it has to do. Good job.
They so rarely have any there's always a different marketing team that cuts the trailers, and they always do such a piss poor job usually. But for a series like this, they gave you a feel of what the show was going to be about. But I was watching and I'm like, man, I really don't know what's happening moment to moment. I'm legitimately on the edge of my seat in a lot of these sequences, trying to figure out what's going to happen next. Hopper's still a badass.
He is.
He makes one particular dumb move near the middle where like he goes off by himself to investigate, and I'm kind of like, come on, man, you know better than that.
Bring the black guy with you.
Bring the black deputy. I love Lucas's family too. Did you see the scene with because I think I saw the scene with both of you actually when we were catching up. Lucas's dad, where Lucas is kind of having a crush on Mad Max. Because
your mother was never wrong.
Because he's like, how do you get when mom's mad at you? How do you get her to not be mad at you? And the mom is right there, like, that's an interesting question. And he's reading his paper, and he's just like, he doesn't even look up. He's like, I apologize, and I get your mother whatever she wants. What if she's the one that's wrong? And he pulls down his paper, looks his son dead in the eye, and goes, listen to me. She is never wrong.
But this one didn't actually, I don't think it involved Max. It was actually him trying to apologize to his friends instead.
No, it was definitely Max.
Was it? Yeah, that one was definitely Max.
Because that's why he asked, like, what if mom was mad at you? He's asking if a woman's mad at you, what do you do? And it's like, I loved it. The look in his eyes was like, trust me, son. Learn this lesson the way I had
easier
to learn
than I ever had, yeah.
Also, Mike and Nancy's dad. I love this character and how much of a shitty dad he is.
He's pretty terrible.
Every time they show this dad and how little of a shit he gives, I crack up every time.
He even has a line depicting how little of a shit he has.
Okay, I just have one question for you guys now that we're talking about the kids' families. Does anybody remember the little sister?
For Lucas's little sister?
No. Mike's.
No, not Mike's little sister. Mm-hmm. It's Will's and Jonathan's. They have a sister.
They have a sister?
In the first, because remember, she's the one who followed the lights. Or the little sister, it's Mike's little sister.
Yeah.
The Wheelers. Yeah.
Oh, I barely remember Mike's little sister, but I think, with Mike getting pushed more into the background this season, I guess did we even see her this season?
I don't know. I can't even remember. I don't think we did.
I don't think so.
Damn it, I don't think so.
Maybe at the dinner table at one point.
Maybe she was at the dinner table. She played a big role because she followed the lights in the first season.
Right.
When she was visiting Winona Ryder's character. Why can't I think of her?
Joyce.
Joyce, yeah.
Oh, and Winona Ryder gets at the point, like halfway through the season, she gets to be crazy Winona Ryder again, and I love that. I love crazy Winona Ryder, and she gets to be a badass and like take care of her son, because Will's whole thing of basically he's kind of like slash possessed kind of by a being from the Upside Down. What they call this one? What they gave
Mind
it
flayers.
The Mind Flayer.
That was like the last thing they called it. Before they just called it like the shadow monster.
Yeah, this is the big bad for the season, is the Mind Flayer. As far as antagonists go, it's pretty mysterious. It works pretty much overall. I kind of like that they never really give too much of a personality or even like a lot of information about the Upside Down or any of the entities from it.
Well, the shadow monster is basically just a Cthulhu thing.
Sure. Well, I mean,
which a Mind Flayer is.
I love how the D&D parallels so exactly with it, except when like, well, how did we defeat it? Zombie army. Well, look, it's not a 1-to-1, okay? It's not a 1-to-1 comparison.
We're working with what we have.
It's just a game. It's a role-playing experience, or whatever he says. Or no, it's a manual.
Yeah.
It's a monster manual.
So, again, it's basically the same structure as the first season, is where everyone has their own separate stories. Everyone's getting a piece of the puzzle, and then they all come together near the end to kind of, take care of the overall problem altogether.
Except for Nancy and Jonathan.
Nancy and Jonathan show up.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with the actual, main plot.
No, they're more dealing with trying to
convince the public to...
Justice for Barb.
Yeah, their whole storyline is basically justice for Barb.
Which I like the end result. I didn't necessarily like how they got there.
I like the fact that they went like, okay, we can't tell everybody the truth because they'll think we're crazy. Dumb it down.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Actually.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Is that he knew the score and knew like, I believe you, but I'm crazy. So you're gonna have to get normal people to believe you. So we'll make it as normal sounding as possible.
So can we talk about a storyline I did not like this season?
Sure. What did you got? What did you not care for?
I didn't like Dustin's storyline.
Oh, the whole E.T. thing, the E.T. parallel. See, I did not mind it because I thought I was going to go like, oh, he's going to get a pet fucking monster and it's going to protect him. It's going to be his own 11 or something. But that's not how it worked out. And that's for me is where the CG fell down a lot, is with Dart.
Yeah.
D'Artagnan, yeah. Or Dart for short. Because when he first shows up as this little slug thing, they're all holding it in that one scene, and I'm like,
your hands are nowhere near cupped enough for it to actually be holding it.
And the rest of the season is so good with their special effects for the most part. So the couple scenes where they're not really stick out to me. And that was one scene where I'm like, oh God, I'm so distracted because I can so tell it's not there, guys. You kind of fell down in this scene. I don't know what happened here, but you dropped the ball a little bit.
I mean, they're kids trying to act at something they can't see.
Yeah, and they're obviously throwing around this tennis ball, and it feels like they're throwing around a tennis ball rather than a living creature. And so, yeah, I guess suppose one of the spoilers for the season is that these creatures molt and they're like baby demogorgons sort of thing. Or they might be different species because they end up not molting completely. Or maybe
I think it was kind of assumed that they would eventually molt into demogorgons.
But we don't know sure how long it takes.
Yeah, or not even completely sure that they aren't just different species.
So yeah, but any moron watching this series can go, oh, I know exactly what that thing is going to turn into. And the fact that none of the kids ever bring up any concern that it might be dangerous feels weird to me. But as soon as they realize that it might be dangerous, they are all on board killing it except for Dustin.
And that's where I really fall apart. I'm like, no, you know that this situation is dangerous, and you're just like, but I wanted a pet. I'm like, why?
It ate your cat.
Well, so, that was the point where you realized it was bad.
Yeah. So once at point where it eats the cat, Dustin gets to turn around and go, oh shit, I was completely wrong.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's the whole season.
No.
So,
yeah, no.
So it's, again, I agree with you. For whatever reason, it didn't bother me as much.
Yeah, it didn't really bother me much either.
I don't know, for me it felt like E.T., like what they were going for, or Gremlins, like it's the Mogwai before it turns into Spike, sort of thing.
Yeah, but you don't have like invasion of spikes beforehand. You know, if you had seen like, hey, that thing killed people. Ooh, what's this small little furry thing?
I suppose that's true.
It makes you seem really stupid.
I suppose that's true. That's not. I don't know. I guess I was distracted by a lot of the other story elements going on.
Well, the thing is that they even do a comparison in the actual show where they compare Lucas informing Max about everything that happened in season 1 to Dustin keeping a murderous monster. It's like, those two things are not comparable, dude. Not even close.
Mm-hmm. I do like the fact that they are very hesitant about bringing in Max to the crew, because they seem like they're well knit, or Mike is especially not into it. Mike is not into Max joining the group at all.
Yeah, that's our future misogynist right there. Future misogynist of America.
Mm-hmm. Well, the problem with Mike and Max is the fact that he feels like Max is replacing 11.
Yep. And he does not want that to happen.
So it sucks because we don't get a lot from him this season, and most of it is him being bitchy about Max.
Yep.
No, he has actually a lot of scenes protecting Will when no one else is.
Oh yeah, he's Will's best friend to the core. Like him and Will are like Spock and Kirk. They are together till the end.
Cue the bagpipes.
Out of all the souls in the universe, his was the most human. I mean, I like where Max ends up in the series too, where she does get told eventually she doesn't really believe them, and then gets slowly kind of.
Would you?
Well, it's to the point where how would you react to someone telling you this crazy fucking thing that is so hard to believe?
Well, I think that was a really funny scene where it's like, obviously she doesn't, believe the kids because they're just other kids. They're obviously playing a game, and then Steve shows up and just like full on board, like, we need your help with this. He's like, all right, fine. And she's just like, what?
Well, and you know what? I really like, while we talked about Hopper and 11 living together, and what I really like about the relationship is that it's very subtle, and we don't have to mention every other scene that Hopper used to have a daughter that, disappeared. Mm-hmm. And if you feel it every time that they're together, like, oh, this is what's going on. This is what, like, Hopper's mindset in that relationship. His parenting skills could use some work. There's a point where I would change up my parenting style if I'm, if Tetsuo from Akira starts throwing shit around the room telekinetically. I would stop the whole tough love thing, but he keeps going with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, tough love for a lot of it. I think a lot of it was him being like just a jackass in general. He was never home on time or for her. He was never around.
He broke his promises.
He broke his promises all the time.
Friends don't lie.
I counted it. It was like 3 times in the first 2 episodes that he essentially wasn't there for 11.
Yeah, and 11's making a lot of sacrifices, and she's keeping up her end of the deal, not talking to her friends, not going outside, not using her powers.
Basically being in isolation for like almost a full year.
So it's kind of like, at a certain point, you're like, yeah, you're probably going to need to let Carrie out of the room for a little bit before she starts to murder everyone at the prom.
Ooh, the bad movies deep cuts of the past year.
I mean...
Or at the very least, hitting more people with squirrels.
I mean, she does have a tantrum to where the first moment I would get scared is where she throws that book at him telekinetically, and I'd be like, oh crap, here we go. I mean, we've seen so many things of children characters with unlimited power, but 11 is, what I really love about 11, especially her actor that plays her, is how vulnerable she plays 11, and how 11 might be one of the most powerful beings in the universe, but she's still this small little girl at heart that wants to find her mom. And that's the point where she's had enough, is where she realizes Hopper lied to her about her mom. Like, you fucking lied about that? Oh, you do not even know. Oh boy, you are lucky that I don't kill people anymore. Sort of, maybe.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. So yeah, I really do still like 11. I do like that her changing hairstyles throughout the show. Like the first one, especially when she's wearing Hopper's clothes, like, man, you look like a boy. Like it really weirds me out that I have to remind myself that you're 11 because you look like some new boy character.
Kind of, yeah.
But no, that's cool.
Oh, yeah, because kids don't actually look different until they're like in their teens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that the hairstyles though, I do like. But despite the Red Ranger's mullet, everyone's hairstyle does seems to be pretty cool. Like that mullet is so gross, and the wig is so bad.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell that it's a wig, and it's just like you look gross. I don't like looking at you.
Then it doesn't help that he appears like shirtless through most of the scene, like a lot of the scenes too. I'm like, shirtless plus the mullet. I'm like, go back in Top Gun, God.
I do like when he faces off with Steve because Steve gets the reflection of like, wow, are you what I could have become?
Mm-hmm.
Oof, I dodged a bullet there.
Yep.
And you know, I realize that a lot of these characters are like 20-year-olds playing teenagers, and I accept that. But when fucking 30-year-old Red Ranger shows up, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing in high school?
I'm a bad boy.
Like one of the reasons, because he hits on that MILF, and it's supposed to be creepy. Like, oh, you know, a younger man. I'm like, their age difference is way closer than anyone in that high school that he's gonna date.
Yep.
This is way less weird than any high school girl he was gonna date in there, because he's so obviously 30 years old.
It's like, go hang out with the previous Peter Parker while you're at it.
It's just, I mean, I get that. I get why they do it too, but that one was especially egregious to me, of where I'm like, I can't accept that you're a high school kid. Look at you. You look like you should be drinking out of a 6-pack and like and you know, tailgating out of a like football game. But yeah, with that, is there anything else we want to mention before we just go into a spoiler section?
Yes.
Wasn't the spoilers?
This one was light spoilers. This one we're gonna talk specifically about the ending into a spoiler section, which I realize that if you listen to this point, you probably watched the whole season already. But
yeah, aren't we in spoilers? Wasn't
know.
that kind of the point of the whole beginning?
The structure is whatever I say it is. We're in the upside down of spoilers.
Don't question it, Kyle. Anyway, do want to bring up one little point about Bob, though, is the fact that he did have a little tidbit about how his parents are from Maine. So, like, he is originally from Maine. I'm like, oh, so you just are straight up on it from a Stephen King book. That's worrisome.
Oh, I love Bob so much. I heart him.
Yeah, but he's running away from it.
He escaped Pennywise.
He did.
And he just ended up here like, fuck! Cannot get away from these demon things. But yeah, let's go into, like, our final kind of ratings here, and then we'll just so I can get the musical break, Kyle. So I can put a musical break in, so I can put the Stranger Things music and then go into the spoiler section. You know I love my musical breaks.
All right.
Just non-say yes, Kyle.
So
It's safer.
we'll start with me. Okay, so I feel like, my God, I love Stranger Things. I love how this show feels and how it looks. The design is really awesome. It's like if Spielberg and Stephen King got to make an 80s movie with today's technology. I really like that feel. It's like the good version of Super 8, if you've ever seen that movie. And you know, it's kind of like how I felt about It, of like, it's a Stephen King story kind of done right with these kids. The character development is, you know, pretty on point. I like everybody in it. The story really keeps me on the edge of my seat. The suspense, when it gets to the horror elements, I am legitimately in suspense. I am rooting for characters to live. I'm sad when they don't get out of the situation. When they do end up getting out of the situation, I pump my fist in the air, going like, fuck yeah, all right. The only problem I really have with this season is the fact that the Jonathan and Nancy storyline is a little bit weak, and the fact that we take a break from the plot with 11's storyline for episode 7. It breaks up the pacing. The pacing is not as tight as season 1. And that was another thing I really appreciate about season 1 is how it felt watching season 1 was just like you could watch season 1 episode after another, after another, after another, because you were in it from episode 1. You're like, fuck yeah, this one, it takes a little bit. It takes a little bit for you to get into it. But you know, you do get into it after a while, and it still delivers. So while the first season I would probably have given, I don't know if we ever rated it or not.
I don't remember.
I don't think so.
I think I probably would have given that one my traditional like 5 out of 5 nitpick of like highly recommend. If maybe a 4.5 or something of just some of the small technical stuff that I had to nitpick about. This one gets a solid 4 out of 5 from me. Still very, very good. Probably still one of the best shows you can watch on Netflix right now. But be prepared to have a little bit of a grind in the first couple episodes, and for, you know, just for you to take a break in episode 7. To be honest, I might actually skip episode 7 and read a plot synopsis, and then you might not miss much.
To be honest, you're probably right.
But other than that, I really don't have too many more complaints. What did you guys think about it? Kyle, what about you?
I'd have to give it a 7, basically for the same reasons. It's really slow going for the first bit of it. It's not paced well. I think the writing could have been better. I mean, we know the writing could have been better because of season 1.
Yeah.
So it's a 7. The first season probably would have been a 9, maybe a 10. But
that first, if there's anything I want to go back and watch the first season again, it's just like, man, I really like that first season so much. But yes, that's a pretty fair rating. It's a 7. Yeah, I can see that. Travis, how about you?
Well, if I had to rate the first season, again, we don't remember if we did, I'd probably rate it a 9 as well. This one, I think I'm still going to give it an 8 because I do agree that there are pacing problems, but I enjoyed it because I just love character development a lot, and this season did get a bit more chance to do it than the previous season did for some other characters. So that was at least nice to see those, you know, the other kids, some new characters that actually got time.
Bob.
Well,
Bob's worth a point.
Well, Bob is worth a whole upgrade in points, in my opinion. I love Bob so much. And the fact that any other show would have dropped Steve like a sack of bricks. Yeah. Steve would not have been a character in a season 2 of any other show. And I love that they give him a chance to not only be a character, but be one of my faves.
Yeah, the directors were talking about that, and it's like, we don't really have much to give to Steve right now. Let's put him with the kids.
But that's such a great move, though.
Yeah.
Because it gives him a purpose and, like, a chance to be where he was his high point from season 1. It fits his character so well. Damn, I like that. That was a brilliant, efficient decision of where to place characters based off of what we need from this season.
Yeah, they were having trouble placing Dustin and Steve at the end, which is why they became kind of close.
And while I do agree that there are some pacing issues, episode 7 is the only one where I really felt it being very bad.
Yeah, I don't want to say straight up bad. I mean, I'll say that, you know what, the punks, I don't like any of the punk characters.
Oh.
Especially since I feel like we'll never see them again. Like, they're so overly designed to the point where I'm like, man, I don't understand how you guys walk anywhere without being noticed. Even despite the fact that one of you can turn the others like invisible or whatnot. But yeah, that's some solid scores all around. We're going to take a small musical break. And we'll come back with a spoiler section.
A double spoiler section?
But before we do that, just guys, want to remind you, if you want to check out some of our back catalog on iTunes, you can do so at our network page, UGO Podcast. All our backlog of episodes of Netflix and Kills are all there, along with our regular show, UGO Podcast. If you want to help out the podcast, you can give us a review on iTunes, give us those 5-star reviews, and we'll read whatever goes in that review box on the regular episode, word for word. That is my guarantee. We love it. We absolutely love it. I mean, tell me what you think about Steve's character. What more can we do with him? Give me some writing ideas in the review box. I would love to hear it. Otherwise, you can always contact us at our Facebook page. You can give us a message there, maybe give us a like. You can do us on Twitter at UGO Podcast. Our Instagram's the same thing. Or you can always just email us at unapologeticgeekout@gmail.com. And with that, we're going to a small spoiler section. We'll be right back after this awesome 80s nostalgic music. Woo!
what was going to me, because we only watched the first couple of episodes, so it's like, Bob doesn't die, right? She's like, but I like Bob throughout the series, and she went like, oh yeah, you didn't finish it yet. I totally finished it, but I'm not going to tell her.
Yeah, you can't. That's one of those things where you don't want to lie, but you don't want to
You're
lie.
not going to be able to lie.
Alright, welcome to the spoiler section for Stranger Things Season 2. Okay, first and foremost, moment of silence for Bob.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the cat.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, it hurts so much, guys. I mean, I knew they were going to do it, like, since episode 3, where I realized, man, I really like Bob.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so screwed.
He's either
He's
screwed
so
or evil.
screwed. But I remember, I think I watched the episode with Travis, and I'm like, oh, god damn it, in my logical mind knows that it only makes sense narratively if he dies.
Yep.
And yet, emotionally, I'm like, come on, man. Come on, Bob. Run your little ass off. Make it, you son of a bitch.
And it felt so nice for Joyce to have, like, a good guy in her life.
Yes.
Like, I mean, we've seen Hopper and how shit he can be, and we've seen her ex-husband,
Who's also shit.
He
he was like twice the shit of Hopper. Like, probably 5 times the shit of Hopper.
No, he makes Hopper look a lot better in comparison. Yeah. And it's just, damn it. He's running through that hallway, and he looks like he's almost gonna make it, and then they do that wide shot so that, and you know, like, shit, something's gonna come from the left of the screen, because there's no reason for him to be so far to the right of the screen, and I'm like, no!
Well, they even kind of, like, hinted that, oh, maybe it's gonna be the doctor instead.
Well, the doctor, surprisingly, is like, when the facility becomes under attack, which is another fucking awesome scene, by the way, because, you know, when they have Will spy on the character, like, Will gets a couple really creepy moments where when he first gets cold and he says, like, he likes it cold.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, that doesn't sound great. That does not, that doesn't lead anywhere
It's bad
good.
news.
When he tells them, like, the Mind Flayer doesn't want me to see this. He's blocking out my vision of this place to send the soldiers or whatever there to try and investigate to see what it is. And then he just comes in this, like, it's the middle of the scene. It's all tense. We don't know what's going to happen. And then he just, what does he say? He says, I'm so sorry. And you're like, oh, like, my stomach dropped when he said that line. I'm like, this is going to be so bad.
Yep, cool, because they send all the soldiers to a trap to die.
Yeah, they get fucked up. The Demodogs start to attack the facility. Now let me ask you this. Are the Demodogs impervious to bullets?
No, Hopper was able to kill them pretty effectively.
Well, Copper killed one of them, but he had to pump it pretty full of bullets.
Yeah.
And then 11 kills one of them.
But she's got mind powers.
But she has mind powers, so I don't know if that works.
The only thing we know that they're weak against is fire.
Yeah, they don't like fire.
Or heat in general.
Yeah, like, well, I mean, again, they're in their another Aliens comparison. Get the flamethrower. I mean, they are. That was an intense moment where they're trying to go through the halls and stuff, and again, it's quick thinking by Hopper. And this is the point where I really like in series like this is that they put the characters in such a shit scenario, and they have to make them think and act quickly. So the point of even if they make decisions that aren't the smartest, you're like, they're in a pressure situation and they're trying to make the best decision out of a lot of bad decisions.
Right.
And so even though the plan later is just like, there's some holes in the plan that they end up making, is like, well, this is the best plan we have and we don't know what else to do. And we're basing this plan off of a D&D manual, so that's not great. But it's like the only one we got.
Hey, it's been fairly effective so far.
Yeah, and still fairly effective.
So when the doctor turns around, when Paul Reiser turns around, is like, hey, I'm going to help you guys out. And he actually stands up to the other scientists when they want to do the burn. And we know that the burn, like, Will is connected with the hive mind, basically, at this point. So whatever they do to the tentacles and the plants, the vines, they do to Will. And the doctor's like, no, we can't do that. It's going to kill him.
Which is a really surprising turn for that character, because he doesn't really show any compassion before that.
Well,
he shows humanity.
Right.
Like, even in the first doctor's office visit, he had a lot of humanity. Like,
I just thought it was fake.
Yeah, me too.
I just thought he was faking it. But actually, it seems like he was genuine. Like, he actually wanted to help Will out.
Like, it almost seems more like they pulled a psychiatrist off the street and was like, all right, here, you're going to help this kid.
Because that's where you find psychiatrists.
Yeah, off the
They're
streets.
just panhandling on the streets until they need a job.
Will psychoanalyze for food.
You've met my uncle, right? Because I could see my Uncle Gary doing that just for fun.
So yeah, Bob does not make it. He dies in a brutal fucking fashion too.
Demi-Dog takes the throat out.
Well, he dies screaming and in blood, and he's looking at Winona Ryder, and Winona Ryder gets to have a whole mythos moment where she's screaming. It's pretty intense, and it's like heartbreaking to a point. I'm like, God damn it!
Nick was a little in love with Bob.
I love Bob. Like, who didn't love Bob?
Bob
was kind of awesome. He brought games,
dude. Bob the Brain.
Bob the Brain, who worked at Radio Shack.
Now there's no trace of Bob.
There's no. I mean that was the point in the series too where I'm like, oh man, shit is going so down. I'm so excited for this. I can't wait for this to come to a head. They even have that moment where the Demodogs surround the house and everyone gets their own, like, you know, rally moment where everyone goes into a line. Hopper's got the machine gun. Mm-hmm. Steve's got the bat with the nails in it that he spins around. Lucas has the
slingshot.
Yeah, the slingshot.
The slingshot. And I'm like, this is awesome. I love this. I mean, I realized that it's dumb that I thought they were really going to have a fight with the Demodogs and like beat them up even though the soldiers couldn't kill them. Mm. I'm like, you know what? This would be ridiculous and it would kind of undercut the Demodogs' power level. But I'm kind of into it. I'm kind of into this.
Thankfully, that doesn't actually happen, though.
Nope. Levin comes in for the save. And what I really like about the Upside Down in this season is we get to see a lot more of it because the budget has been upped a little bit more. And they show it interacting with the real world, like it's starting to meld over into the real world, sort of.
Right.
So it's starting to have, you know, really bad effects on the environment. And like the explanation they bring up with the D&D manual with the Mind Flayer and how he wants to take over worlds sounds about right. Like I assume it can't be that far off from what's actually happening. Mm-hmm. I don't know, like the way they burn the Mind Flayer out of fucking Will is pretty intense.
Yeah.
Winona Ryder, I love her. She's like, okay, I'm going to stick you with this. I'm going to stick you with this fucking drug and knock you out if you don't know who I am. It's like, who am I? And I love he's like, Mom? With a question mark? Damn it. Should have been more confident in my answer.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, all right, you got to go to sleep.
It's like, when's your birthday?
Sorry, it took too long.
Please, I bet you if I asked that for Kyle right now, I'd knock him out then.
I can't say that. So yes, you would have to.
We'd have to just be safe. Just to be safe.
I can't say that online.
We'll put you in a really hot room. It'll be fine. Be like a sauna. So yeah, we get another moment for Steve to be the hero. Poor Steve. He always gets beat up in these
really does.
These shows. Because he gets beat up by Mullet Red Ranger.
Billy!
Mm-hmm. And
what a lame name.
Yeah.
For like the biggest badass that they're going for to call him Billy.
Really?
Hey, Bill.
William.
Not only that, he's Billy from California.
The mullet surfer Billy.
And then, of course, when Steve's knocked out, they go and decide to do their plan of distracting the Demodogs so that Hopper can have a chance at closing the breach with 11.
And that's definitely a scene where it's like, please don't do that. One of you could die.
Well, it's like that plan where it's like, it makes sense to them because there's these kids and they think, we did this in the previous season. We're invincible, right? I'm like, you guys don't realize how vulnerable you guys are. I feel like you guys don't understand how dangerous this situation is. But Steve goes with them and they like drag him with, which is pretty fun. And it's like, look, we're doing this. You can either come along or not.
Well, no, he's knocked out and they basically drag him in the car. He's coming whether he likes it or not.
So I do love that too. Steve gets a chance to stand up to everybody, and he like, it's one of his final things with Nancy is like, well, I might not have been a great boyfriend, but it turns out I'm a pretty good babysitter. And I like that, because there's a lot of characters trying to discover who they are in this season. Like, who they are as people, like, what makes them them. And Will is very much like, I'm not even me anymore, and, 11 is all about family, and is she more than just a test subject? I feel like there's a lot of, like, self-identity going on this season, which is, it's just pretty cool. And I feel like Steve is the one that gets the most resolution of, like, I'm okay with this. This is where I'm most comfortable, and I like this, even if I'm not Nancy's boyfriend anymore, which was my only identifier before.
Right. Now he's actually a full-fledged character on his own.
Yeah, and I don't know, I really like that. I really like Steve's moment.
Although I would just laugh if in season 3 they actually give him like a babysitting service.
Steve, teach your kids how to do product in their hair. That was another cute moment too, where he is like he explains how his hair goes, and he has like this weird like
ritual
for his hair. It's like, you tell anybody about this and I'll kill you. It's just a small cool humanizing moment that I really like. But yeah, 11 closes the breach, we burn out the mind flare, and yay, everything's good.
Yeah, because Nancy grabs a hot poker and stabs him with it.
That was intense. There's some intense shit, like that was some Exorcist shit right there. The power of Christ was compelling that shit. I like the epilogue we get of like the prom as well.
The snowball.
The
snowball. Snowball was cute.
It's definitely pretty cute. I mean, even Dustin, who is like, he gets to like, Steve gets to go like, okay, go on. Like, Steve's his dad, and then Nancy gets to be at the very end like, okay, well, no one else will dance with you. I'll do you a solid and dance with you and make the other girls jealous, sort of thing. Max gets to dance with Lucas. There's a girl for Will at the very end that comes out of nowhere.
And it's just like, come on, zombie boy, let's dance. Like, why would you call him that if you're asking him to dance?
Well, there's even a moment, like, because now 11 gets to dance with Mike, too, because she gets to be a kid in the actual school. And that was another point I liked, too, before the whole finale goes down, is that Hopper and 11 have a conversation in the car. It's like, I like your new look. It's pretty intense. Like her new goth punk look. But they have like just a straight up conversation of like, hey, sorry, I was such a dick. And like, I'll try and be better now. And I don't know, for that one, it also worked for me. It I don't know. There's points in the series where it just feels real. Like there's like a real conversation, even though there's telekinesis and demodogs running around.
Yeah, well.
There's a nice like real like, wow, this feels like a conversation I would have with my dad in the car. I don't know, like that was always a thing with us, is like all our deep conversations would be in the car while Dad was driving.
Well, it's because you were cornered.
Yeah, like, you
couldn't go anywhere else.
Yeah, we're on this next half-hour car ride where I go like, let me tell you my philosophy about life. Like, well, I can physically do nothing about this. So
nonsense. That's quitter talk.
I'll just jump out of it's between this and jumping out of the moving vehicle, so...
Take the ladder. Take it out.
Anything else we wanted to cover in the spoiler section?
No, I think we're good.
I think we got everything. Good. Yeah. I did really like this season, and
D'Artagnan comes back.
Oh, that's right. That was a small scene that I'm not. Again, it didn't bother me.
No, I didn't mind. I actually expected it earlier.
I mean, it gives payoff for Dustin's arc.
It's basically the only way it would have been even acceptable, is to have that happen.
I mean, it didn't get as bad as what you thought. It was like, oh, I thought like D'Artagnan was going to come around and protect them and fight the other demodogs.
Yeah, instead of 11 being the one that protected them from when the demodogs were surrounding the house, I thought it was D'Artagnan. But it's like, nope, it's not.
But yeah, with that, we'll also get back from the Upside Down. We'll go back into the regular world and wait for season 3 of Stranger Things.
Next Halloween! Or some other Halloween.
Justice for Bob!
Justice for Bob!
Justice for Bob! And on that note, we're on a positive note, and we're out.